So boom, today I seen a clip. It might be kind of old, not sure, but I want to talk about it. It's Benny the Butcher talking about basically fans having criticisms, or just people that aren't Joe Button really having criticisms about his work.
Went out and said the fans should just enjoy the music instead of critiquing. I'm like, if a person's a purchaser of your music, you don't think they got a right to give a little bit of a critique, or
Of course, I think so. But this is what I meant by it. I meant, the when you critiquing people art, that's their baby. So you gotta understand this, and this with anything. I don't want a mechanic critiquing my shit. I'm the nigga. You know what I'm saying?
y'all brothers.
But I want a mechanic. Now, like nigga said, he said he was a manager for 25 years. You seen what Joe Button spoke on it. Like Joe Button, you could talk, Joe. But not these niggas. These niggas just want to talk. Cause you know why? Cause they want to do what niggas is doing. So they take that as a shot.
I be
at
saying
us.
that.
Like, man, that shit weak. Yeah, cause go to his page, he got his little Apple Music link up there, and it's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So niggas all in my comments like, yo, Benny, I really do this shit. It's like, show people. Instead of weaponizing your opinion just because a nigga doing what you want to do, like, man, that shit weak. And even like on these sites, a lot of these sites, these social media sites, people get on them just to spew their hate. You know what I'm saying?
Animosity.
But if we're talking about people who have experience in the game around artists, it's really just constructive criticism at that point. You know what I'm saying?
There are multiple points that I want to discuss from what he said. In general, I agree somewhat don't. But we'll go over that. I just want to say before I get into it, I have not critiqued Benny the Butcher at all on my channel ever. So let's just get that out the way. And I don't really critique people's music on the channel. So I'll just get this point out the way. The point he made about people who make criticisms want to do what he's doing, there is some fact in that. Let me keep it 500,000 with you. I used to rap. If I made it rapping, I more than likely would not be doing this. When you look at Joe Button, if his rap career had a trajectory of a Lil Wayne to where he was a legend in the game, super crazy, 9 times out of 10, he would not be doing a podcast and he wouldn't have did Love and Hip Hop. Because at the end of the day, he didn't want to do podcasting in the first place. I watched the podcast from day one, back when I used to listen to it. Now, even though you see rappers like T.I. doing podcasts and he has crazy success, he doesn't build a lot of his podcasts around criticisms of other rappers. Joe does. So with that being said, this is true to some extent. But the extent that it's not true is that niggas are criticizing you because they want to be you. Maybe that may be true for some of these other people, because he mentioned the people in their comments comparing themselves to him like I'm raw and et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that later. But as far as me personally, I know the skill set. Trust me, I've done a lot with rap. We not gonna get into it, but people still reach out to me for my opinion because of how much they respect my knowledge when it comes to this rap shit. Period, point blank. And I don't give criticisms to them and even then I don't give too much unsolicited criticism when we talking about regular people, which will be my next point. But, people seek the critique and criticism, constructive criticism from me on a regular basis. And and that doesn't come from me wanting to do what they do. And me doing this channel is not indicative of me wanting to be a rapper. It's just like we have these conversations in the barbershop, at the job. Everybody has these conversations everywhere. And it's actually been going on before social media. Even with rock groups and things like that, people have very polarizing opinions, and they've had them offline before the internet was even invented, back in the 80s and stuff like that. So with that being said, that's not always the case. Now, the other thing that he mentioned was people in his comments saying I'm nicer than you, I really do this and stuff like that. I could dig where, because that's one of the types of people that he's talking about when it comes to this. And what he's really saying is, don't try to directly come to me criticizing me in my comments, then saying I really do this. Now, I agree with him when it comes to this because you are directly trying to give unsolicited feedback to a guy that's actually made it, to a guy that actually was signed to Hove, to a guy that's actually bubbling right now, to a guy that has actually had a song that, you know, it might not have been the song of the year. John P's Caddy, I think was the name of it, but it was up there, bro. It was up there. So you're talking to somebody who can go bar for bar with any rapper and has had industry success and still is actively currently having industry success. So when it comes to giving him like forcing your feedback and criticisms onto him where he could see it directly to him, at that point you have to ask what makes you qualified to give him this critique? What makes you qualified? Why should he take your input? Why do you feel the need to give him that input? Because when I give other people input and criticisms and things like that, as far as like on a personal level to where I'm reaching out to them, typically, number one, it's not unsolicited. I don't just throw that at people. But second, when it is solicited, it's constructive and they respect my opinion. Why should he respect your opinion? Like, and it's just weird to me. I don't really get it. So we knocked that off. So really, I agree with him for the most part because I recognize the context that he's saying this in. But there are two things, you know, we'll just because, you know, there could be some other stuff. You know, he said a lot of things. I'm going to say two things as far as 2 points so we can wrap it up and not drag it. So the first thing is, if he is actually, because some of the opinions are coming to him, if he's actually going out and seeking what people is saying about him, a lot of rappers actually do that. You see KD did it. KD had a burner account and stuff like that. He's a basketball player, Kevin Durant. You know, when you become a public figure, I know it's hard, but you have to become, and this is from somebody who's not a public figure. Let me keep it 500,000. But I think it's still, you know, valid. You have to become somewhat detached and ignore public opinion because there will if you want to find a negative opinion about you, it's going to be out there. Now, I could say that he's too concerned with what people think and all types. I could say all types of shit, but I can't imagine, you know, going from, you know, like I'm just doing my 1-2 in my city. I'm popular in my city. You know, it is what it is. Niggas know better than to say whatever about me on social media. Or, you know, I seen him have a local social media beef before. So, you know, just that little shit. People that you can actually go and see. It's a difference going from that to being, okay, now I'm somebody to sign and I'm getting millions and millions and millions of plays. I'm possibly getting plaques. I'm touring, and it's never 50 minutes that pass without somebody tweeting about me or whatever I got going. It's always, you can always find something every second being said about me. Like, that's a crazy thing to go through. So I can't really criticize him, you know, for caring about what other people think or nothing like that, because we humans, and it's going to be natural that you're going to care, but you have to detach from that. I feel like a lot of rappers are detached from that. But the thing is, somebody's always gonna have something negative to say about you. You can't be too caught up on it. You know, I'll say this before I go to my next point, but Mano was really concerned about what people said about him so much that he had an app on his phone that let him know when anybody tweeted about his name and stuff like that. And the chick says something like, "Look at Mano in the mall looking broke." She says something disrespectful. The chick was with her dude. You could probably find this video. It's probably still up. Mano got the tweet while he was in the mall, searched for the chick because he seen her account, approached her in front of her dude, and asked her why she was saying that stuff. And guess what? She couldn't answer. She was shook. She was shook. It is what it is. But even then, it's like, what did you get out of that? Like people that you don't know are always gonna have opinions about you. Especially when you're famous, you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. You just gotta completely let it go. Now, if it's something like the Meek stuff that's going on where they're making crazy memes about him being gangster, I get that. I get being upset about that. But if it's not no widespread and it's just one opinion from one guy, or even if it's a popular opinion that's like, because you've never seen G Herbo, I've never seen G Herbo address the offbeat criticisms. And I think his flow is really dope. But a lot of rappers just like, they just tuck all that, they just forget about it. They live life and get money. That's what they do. Now, this is the last thing, and before I get to this, I just want to say I had to look up pictures for this, man. Benny be putting that shit on. Just got to keep it 500,000. But the last point I'll get to, and this goes back to if he's seeking this stuff out. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I typically don't agree with qualifying or disqualifying opinions, but you also are entitled to think a person's opinion is valid or not. And even then, we have to recognize, no matter how much credibility and all this stuff you got, your opinion about their qualification is still an opinion. They could disagree with it. Other people could disagree with it. It's not law. So I'm going to give you two examples, just of, like who gives a fuck and something I actually feel. And I'll keep it brief. So boom, a song comes out. We could say a random artist. We'll say Travis Scott album. Travis Scott album in the Grammys, and everybody having opinions about his album should have won a Grammy over Killer Mike's. Like, look, music is subjective and everybody is going to have different tastes. So when I look at that, if somebody says Travis Scott album should have won over Killer Mike's, that's not something I'm going to break the kitchen table over, start kicking walls, throw a fucking watermelon through the window. We're not doing that because somebody is going to be more of the music is complete. It might as well be two different genres. Even though it's all hip hop, it might as well be two different genres. The Killer Mike and Travis Scott do. So they're not the same. They don't have the same fan base. So there are going to be differences in opinion. You just got to respect that, even if you don't, it is what it is. You had your disagreement, but I don't see any reason to disqualify anybody's opinion on, the subjectivity of music. With that being said, I had to redo this part because I really went in on the guy that you see on the screen, and I want to be more calculated with it. I just want to give an example, not do a whole video about him or anything like that. Anthony Fantano. The example I'm going to give is his criticism of Gunna, his hypercritical criticism of Gunna. Him criticizing Gunna, I look at it, and then I look at him, I look at his channel, and in my mind and two other people, I disqualify his opinion. Why do I do that? Because number one, most of the people that I know like Gunna. That's number one. Number two, Gunna is not Benny the Butcher. He's not a super lyrical rapper. He is not somebody whose music you dissect. His music is mainly for a feeling. Now, we'll get to something in a moment. Matter of fact, we'll get to it right now. Number three, when you look at Anthony Fantano, you can tell that he is not of the culture. Now, when I say that, I don't want you to think that being of the culture is synonymous with being white. And when I say of the culture, I'm talking specifically about the hood and hip hop. Those two things, the urban hip hop shit, as far as the culture. When you look at Bootleg Kev, Quite possibly. When you look at Alchemist, absolutely. Two white people. So I just want you to so if you're thinking like, oh, you have to be black to be of the culture, look at those two people and look at the differences between them and Anthony Fantano and what they do and just everything. So the reason that I mentioned him not being of the culture, that is such an important point. It's especially as far as disqualifying his opinion, because he doesn't understand the purpose of it, because this is not music that you are hypercritical of. It's not music that you should be criticizing to a high degree, like Benny the Butcher's music, who is actually a lyrical person, or even Stove God Cooks or Eminem or anybody like that. Even a Drake, because we put so much importance on their pen. We don't put importance on Gunna's pen. What comes out of Gunna is you get a feel. And when you come from the culture, you understand music that is supposed to make you feel more than, okay, he got bars and perfect example that I said in the last recording that I did of this that I cut out. If you are from the hood, if you are from the urban areas and stuff like that, let's say you like Celine Dion, but you got a car and you got a system in the car and you about to pull up somewhere in the hood, a gas station, a corner store, you about to pull up to the basketball court, you about to pull up to where a bunch of men and women are going to be, or even just possibly be. You are not going to pull up banging Celine Dion in some 12s. 9 times out of 10, especially if you're young, you want to look cool and you gonna play the music that niggas love to hear, that you love to hear. If you actually like it, you're gonna be pulling up, playing some motherfucking Gorilla Zoe. You're gonna be pulling up, playing some motherfucking NBA Youngboy. You're gonna be playing something that's cranking through them fucking speakers. Now, even if you were someone who is from the hood and you say this is ridiculous, this is bullshit, and all this, even if you are blackety black, you just a blackest, and you nigga, you freaking a black and mild right now, and you say this nigga is talking some bullshit, you identify with what I'm saying. If you don't identify with what I'm saying, if you haven't seen this, if you don't think this is in the people, in the community around you, you are full of shit. You are full of shit. Throw that black and mild in the trash. Go and look in the mirror. You're looking at somebody that's full of shit. So I say all that. And even then, this is the thing about that. Why is the music important? Because this is the music that we live to. This is the music that's the soundtrack of our lives. This is the music that we listen to at the club and the house parties that we play at the crib. This is the music that when we with the bitches, when we got the bottle, the bitches say, turn that shit on. They don't say turn on that lyrical miracle shit. They say turn on something that we can shake our ass to, something that we can fucking feel. That's what the fuck it is. It's the music that's played at the basketball games. It's the music that you hear in cars that pass you when you walking. That's what it is. So if you're not in this environment, and you not around these people who are playing this music, and you don't understand the utility of it, or even utility might not even be the right word, just where it fits in. If you don't understand where it fits in, if you haven't lived in an area where drug dealers are glorified, and you see the glorification and the music match with the glorification, if you haven't been around that, then your nerd ass is gonna think that this is some shit to be hyper dissected. It's like when you watch a movie review of somebody breaking down the intricacies of the Da Vinci Code or some other complex movie like Pulp Fiction or whatever fucking complex movie you want to think of, The Matrix, whatever. And you see somebody, a movie reviewer, just breaking that shit down. And no disrespect to Gunna when I say this, because it's going to sound crazy, but you'll get the analogy. You see those same movie reviewers trying to give the same level of intricate review. They trying to really dissect it. They really trying to go in on Pootie Tang. On Pootie Tang. It's ridiculous. And don't get it twisted. Anthony Fantano is not the only person who does this. There are other people, even black people, even people of the culture who are on YouTube who do this and get hypercritical. But with him, and even then, you know, when it comes to other people, I will point and have different criticisms and stuff like that. But for him, when I ask where's the opinion coming from, I look at it like it's not even where's the opinion coming from. It's what made you think to even like have the type of opinions you have about this shit. What made you think to even break this shit down? So with that being said, like that's just what it is. I know I went in again when I said, hey, I went in longer than I did the last time. Ain't that crazy? But that's the point. That opinion specifically, I disqualify. It actually makes me void the rest of his rap opinions because I know he been hating on Drake and stuff like that. Yet all the niggas you know love Drake. If you're under a certain age bracket, 80 to 90% of niggas love Drake, but Anthony Fantano doesn't. Makes you think. But anyways, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm out.